to Mohammed and Zainab. Next, ladies and gentlemen, we have a real treat for you. Tales from the Silk Roads is a magical reenactment of the Arabian Nights, bringing together mystery and beauty through musical interpretation. Please welcome up to the stage with a big round of applause Alia Azugbi, Khaled Hakim and Niri Sadeh, who together compose Tales from the Silk Roads.
There was once a lone traveler riding his lean donkey across a dry meadow. The traveler had been journeying for days on end, and he was hungry, but more than that, he was thirsty and tired. His eyes scanned the land for any sign of life, and he squinted them, those dark eyes, in search for any hint of food or water, when he saw in the distance a man fast asleep against a barren tree. The traveler veered his donkey towards the sleeping man, and as he approached him, he saw something silver slithering next to the man, up his thigh, up his chest, towards his head. The traveler galloped his donkey towards the sleeping man. But by the time he got there, this silver thing was not there anymore. There was nothing. The traveler quietly reached into his saddle, pulled out a club, and started to beat the poor man on his head, awakening the sleeping man who, terrified and frightened, ran to take cover behind an apple tree, beneath which lay rotten apples molding on the ground. The man said, "Eat, you miserable wretch, eat!" And the poor man dropped to his knees and started to stuff bits of the terrible fruit into his mouth, choking over its bitterness and acidity. He looked up at his assailant and said, "Who are you? What have I done to you? I've never seen you before." But the traveler continued his merciless blows on the poor man. "Eat more, you fool, eat," he said. And the poor man continued to stuff bits of the soggy fruit into his mouth, bits of it sticking to his palate and to his fingers and dripping out of his mouth and onto his clothes. And when he had stuffed the last bit of fruit into his mouth, the traveler made him get up, and he continued to beat him, making him run across the valley, back and forth, until by nightfall, the poor man dropped to his knees, fatigued, exhausted, full of rotten fruit, bleeding, and vomited everything, the good and the bad, the apples and the snake. The man's eyes were round with terror as he saw the last of the foul reptile fall out of his mouth into the mess that he had created before him. And he looked up at his assailant and said, "I bless the moment you first saw me. I was a dead man and didn't know it." To which the wise traveler replied, "I kept quiet as Allah himself had ordered me. If I had told you about the snake, you would have been terrified and paralyzed. And had I not forced you to eat the fruit, you would not have vomited the poisonous creature in your guts." The Prophet Muhammad has told us that sometimes great evil can reside within us. And if we know about this evil, we might be overwhelmed by it. Therefore, we must submit to the word of Allah. submission is the true essence of Islam.